let's, it's beautiful to that point. I'm aware of ego. Okay? So let's start. I'm aware of ego. Therefore, I cannot just be that ego.
Yes.
Okay? If somehow I'm aware of my ego and I don't like my ego, okay? Then there is something, the watcher of ego also has some vested interest, has some quality as well. I don't like. I like when my ego is nice and calm. I don't like, you know. So it's still actually you got ego in it.
Mm-hmm.
If the one, let's remember, when we speak about observing, ego also has the capacity and the ability to observe also. The difference is it observes with self-interest.
Mm.
It cares about what it's seeing and it's reporting to the sense of me. Does this help me or does it do something to me? You see, it's still involved. So this weakness, this observer is not pure.
Mm.
It's got some biased energy inside it. So it cannot be the pure observing. Once this is recognized, then a deeper seeing becomes clear, that there's a deeper place of seeing,
Yes.
in which even the one who is observing ego, they are rising together, and both are phenomenal.
So
I don't want to get heady about it, just that this is, we're looking, clarifying. Okay?
Okay, so now we have the ego and now we have the superego, observing the ego.
Let's not use these words, no? Just somehow there's a feeling that you say this ego. Some people think there's only ego when you feel, oh yes, I'm somebody special. No, that's not just ego. Ego simply means when you feel I am separate, I decide my life, I do what I want, I go where I want, you know, there's I and you, and you're different from me, and this, all of this is the expression of ego. Doesn't have to be blatantly arrogant or cynical. It can, ego can also be humble. It can be this too.
Yes.
It's still just the feeling of the I when there's strong belief in this I, me. This is all it is. Now you say that is seen. There's an awareness of this. There's an awareness of this. So the very fact there's awareness of this, there's a bit of space. There's breathing space. The awareness means there's some distance to be aware of this. Then the question, what is watching this? Now, we say, if the watcher of this is also feeling good about, yes, I can see that's the ego, oh, I'm glad I've gotten rid of that ego, there is still some ego smell in that one.
Yes, now
Then,
I can see that.
Yes, so the moment that that is seen, you know, it was a little bit, a bit of a blind spot or something, but then it's caught. Then that also becomes phenomenal in the presence of a seeing which is more subtle. Like this, something is reversing a little bit, and each time, if there's room to reverse, there is less qualities to be found. Finally, there's pure seeing, unassociated seeing, non-qualitative seeing, no qualities there, it's pure seeing. And that is experiencing. The seeing and the experiencing are one. All of us can see this. You can see this from here, in this moment. And that is the effortless ground and the natural mind, ground of being. Meaning there's seeing, there's experiencing, all the tastes, all these things are there, but there's no vested interest, there's no identity. It's not needed that one identifies with actions for actions to take place. This is what. So in fact, you see that all the actions and the thoughts, they can happen, but they're not having any consequence. There's no one for them to have a consequence upon. This is your discovery.
So it's not really that there are different levels of consciousnesses, like 3 levels or 4 levels of consciousness. It's like the one consciousness shedding its misidentification with
this
those.
is a cleaner, simpler view. Stay with this way. If you're going to talk about consciousness, super duper consciousness, whatever, then you're going to get confused. Just you see that something is just seeing that this is not true, it's not real. That's all.
Okay.
It's simple. You know, it's more sound, it's sober, and it's reliable, more reliable looking.
So that's why I was confused and not getting it, because I thought like I'm supposed to transcend myself and go to a higher level or something.
This is what the mind is saying. You know, you have to do these things and, you know, take the 7 steps and, you know, all these different stages, which brings in a kind of hardship into the thinking. Just simple, you're here. Everything is arising in front of you.
It feels very heavy, man. Oh my God, I have to do all this, you know, transcend myself, and how am I going to do this?
And even if this voice comes, I've got to do all these things to transcend myself, there's something which is not participating in that. It's just an awareness which is uninvolved with the complaining energy. If there's no identity in the complaining energy, it cannot continue. It just becomes quiet. Keep the energy, keep the attention on only upon the pure seeing. Don't describe it, just stay in that imageless seeing. That's all. You're aware of this. But the mind says, yes, but now what? You see? And then again, you're quickly drawn into the mind's voice. He said, now what? What you going to do now? Well,
nothing.
What is there to do? You're here. You see? But these voices will come, you know, but you can't live like this. There's nothing going on. Oh, it's boring and, you know, this can't be it.
I don't believe that stuff anymore.
Yes.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
At least.
Same mind. I believe, I don't believe. Just recognize it is not the self that is making these statements.
Really?
Yes, not the self. This is the self got to do worried about the mind. You're going to forget all of these things and then discover that they were not at all necessary. They are complete bluffs from the mind.
So the self is not saying anything?
No. To whom is it saying something?
It's all mind. Whatever I'm saying, it's mine.
Mind is also self, by the way. I have to say this, no?
Well, why is he doing it to himself?
Yeah. To make your life interesting.
It's most of the time it's painful. Painful.
And that's part of the game. So you get out of the pain. You can come out of the pain. You cannot make a interesting, you know, sort of blockbusting movie without a bit of friction and some contrast and a car chase and some explosions. His life is, the movie of life is doing something.
But this is a little bit confusing. Sometimes you say it's all mind, or it's all the self.
Yes.
Sometimes you say, oh, that's not the self, that's the mind.
Yes,
it gets a little bit confusing.
Only if you stay in the mind. As you understand slowly, I'm not trying to... It's like you are learning a different way. You go to school, you're learning university learning. You're going there. When you are... a yogi doesn't go to university. He goes to the universe, not university. Okay? So he's not going to tell you a linear way of thinking. You see? You're finding out something much more than linear thinking. It's like the best program on the internet you cannot learn to swim from watching the internet. You have to be in the water and find feel. You see? So this is what you're multidimensional in your expression. You're learning about all your powers all together. But I'm showing you the most simple way is just to hold on to the sense of being and don't associate it with anything else. And by itself, everything that's clinging is like pouring a little bit of it's like pouring a bit of lemon juice on something and it washes off all the slime goes. So all the things that are non-belonging to you gets washed off just by you holding on to the self. That's the most simple, direct way of experiencing the presence you are unassociated with what comes and goes. Simple. And like this you come spontaneously, intuitively into your natural knowing. Like this. This is the most simple. And I am very, very much interested in imparting to you the most simple thing.
Yes, and I had that after the first darshan I had with you. I had a day and a half of amazing silence.
Yes.
And I understood all the teachings that Papaji has ever said. Like people would ask him, what is your highest teaching? And he would say, there is no master, there is no disciple, there is no teaching. And I completely understood this, and it was so obvious.
Yes.
For about a day and a half. And now I am here sitting again and asking all these complicated questions.
Yes.
So
better
it
thing
seems to me that it's all grace. What can I do? How can I hold on to something that...
What you can do is find out what I is. This thing you can do. Just this. Just something keeps saying I. And you have to understand what this I. Check it out. Don't just leave it to roam about. This is the only thing, by the way, is to really understand all the ways, all the manifestations that I can appear through. Because as I started a few days saying, God says I, but the devil also say I. The ego says I. The jnani says I. And do you know the difference?